Oh, don't tell me. No, you can't even have. Oh my gosh. Calico's on the phone. Hang on a minute. Oh, I'm going to have to call her back later. That's Calico. Hi. I'm trying to get, you know, I'm finicky about what goes in the background. Oh, you're coming to foreground. Hello. Here's Tosh. I'm finicky about what goes in the background because there are certain vibrational frequencies that I'm trying to get into the transmission every time. Tosh is here. Here's his nose. There it is. Stop. Okay, now walk away. I was trying to get into the transmission something that I previously have not put in. I'm trying to get, I wanted something aquatic. I have another aquarium there. I moved it here for a while. And I'm trying to get fluidity. And the problem with this is I wanted it to hang in the background. It's flat on one side. It's a little aquarium that goes on the wall. And so I'm going to hold it up for a minute. And then I'm going to go hang it right back over there where it usually goes. Today I'm going to be discussing equal exchange, the financial system, the new financial system of equal giving and receiving. So I wanted a transmission of something that's flowing. You'll notice that he has a live plant in here. And you can see the roots. Obviously, you can see the plant. You can see the fish. And I just wanted to have this in here. So I'm going to go put him down there because it's a hassle to hold. And I want to be able to speak freely. But I did want to get this energy onto the transmission. Yeah, hang on one second. All right. The other thing, our other guest, is this massive money tree. I think it's so funny that I have, you know the size of these things normally? Normally they're like, I mean, they can grow at any size, but usually when you see money trees, they're like yay high and, you know, you can get them in stores and catalogs and stuff. And much is said about money trees when you buy them. And I think it's kind of funny that I have the largest money tree of any money tree I've ever seen in my life. And it's got, check out all of this new growth. It's got all this new growth, and you probably can't see it because it's like down there, but it's got new growth going. It's going crazy. My money tree is absolutely going crazy. And also, it shoots off in the other directions. Like, I watch all the new growth, and it's got like 9 different, it's not because it's spring either, because it does this all the time. But I think it's a little bit comical because my personal self, like I'm broke. But I do happen to have this astonishing money tree. So I thought that in terms of the transmission today, since I was going to be talking about the financial system, I would move this. I should say that differently. I'm allowing this tree to join us as a guest. Let me see if I can get a better view. There we go. And there we go. That feels better. Yeah. And Luke is here too. So usually Luke has not made an appearance on these videos yet. Tosh is usually up here. Most of my other animals, with the exception of the rats, they're not friendly enough to stand on my shoulder. They stiffen up. They get worried. I'm actually looking for, I think they'd be happier elsewhere. I'm looking to, I want a rat, but I want a friendly shoulder rat, the kind that I used to have. I've had over 60 rats. And I know that, but these two are not the pair. These would be happier elsewhere. However, Luke is a good candidate to be in this transmission because we're talking about new growth versus old reliable. And he's old reliable. He's a black lab. He's a dog I originally got for my daughter. Hey, Luke, pick up your head for a minute. Luke, come here. Your presence is required. Here we go. Thank you. And he is very, he is old, but he's also very reliable. I find that, you know, everyone has different characters. Tosh is, I got them as a pair. I didn't think I was going to be talking about this either. I got Luke because my older daughter, Cricket, wanted a dog that would fetch. She wanted a black lab. And it took me a really long time to find one. And we got him off of Craigslist. But I can now say that without insulting this boy at all, because he's a wonderful dog, I didn't meet him before I agreed to take him. And when they showed up, they were desperate to find a home for a bonded pair of labs. And at the time I was living in a great big farmhouse. We had a huge field and we boarded dogs anyway. And I thought, what the heck, you know, what's one more? But they showed up with two, and the woman was 8.5 months pregnant, and they lived in an apartment. And she said, please, please, please take them. And they were all right. So I said, sure. But basically, Luke was not nearly as well trained as they had said he was, but he was already, he was okay. He was steady. But he came with his own dog. He came with a project dog, very much a project dog. The project dog, because they were so bonded. Tosh had so many neuroses when he showed up. He couldn't be away from Luke for even 30 seconds. He would freak out if he wasn't glued to Luke. So Luke came with his own dog, and I agreed to take both of them because I felt bad for him. And it turns out it was a fine decision, and I did regret it for a while, but I was watching Cesar Millan one time, and he said, you don't get the dog you want, you get the dog you need. So it actually hasn't been that bad. But it turns out, if I had known, I think Spirit was wise, because if I definitely wouldn't, these aren't dogs, either one of them really, no offense to you, they're not, he just looked at me, they're not dogs that I would have chosen for myself. I had, I mean, yes, we were one family, but I had 5 dogs. 2 of them were my dogs at the time that I got these 2. I had Ruby and I had Claire, and they were my dogs. We were bonded. You know, when you get a particular animal and you really click with this particular animal, and Ruby was one like that. And Ida Claire was a Cairn Terrier, which is one of my favorite breeds. And so we all got along very well. And I really never liked labs. No offense. There's nothing wrong with them. They're not me, really. But Cricket had wanted one. And he did play fetch real well. So we got Luke for him. And then shortly after I asked for the divorce, both of my dogs died, and Cricket wound up staying with Michael, and I got both the labs. So at any rate, here we are. And as it turns out, this is not what I thought I was going to be talking about. This always happens with a live stream where I have these notes. I have these notes that I'm going to talk about, and then I get on and something else happens. I'm going to go with it. It turns out that I wasn't going where I had anticipated. Spirit sometimes has your back in ways that knows what to give you for the situation you're gonna have, as opposed to the situation that that you planned for. You know, we make plans and the gods laugh. That's kind of what happened. As it turns out, Tosh, who started out such a huge project dog and still is, he still is. In some ways I feel, I've never had an autistic child, but in some ways I feel like he's a little, Tosh, the brown one, he's younger than Luke is, but I've never had an autistic child, but I feel his vibration is so high. He's so sensitive. He's so sensitive. He's taught me a lot, but he also absorbs a lot. So I didn't know when I got these dogs. I thought we were going to be staying in the same house. I thought my circumstance was going to stay the same. And so I planned for that. But what I wound up with was these two pair, this pair. And I now realize that Spirit actually had my back. One of the things that I noticed about Tosh, the brown one, who is so sensitive, like autistic people who just are so sensitive to higher frequencies. And empaths, I didn't know also when I got them that my own development was going to go up so quickly. That was in part of my soul's journey, my soul's plan. Spirit knew, my higher self knew that was coming in for me. So, but it's not something I would have planned for because I had no idea. It would have been the last thing I would have. I mean, spiritual development, sure, but stop calling me. Here, I'm tempted to give this to my dog to sit on. Put it under the cushion to muffle the sound. I'm waiting for a text from my daughter. I want a text, but I don't want a phone call. I'm going to turn this down. Hang on. Tosh, this brown dog, is so sensitive. The reason he looks so old is because he's gone gray. He was 2 years old, merely 2 years old when we got him. But now he looks like a geriatric dog because he's gone, his feet are all white. He's gone really, really gray. Why don't you shut up? I'm going to put this down. Hang on. Okay, forget it. Sorry. He's so sensitive. And one of the reasons he's so sensitive is because, because he's so sensitive, he can pick up he picks up extra from when it's too much for me. And I didn't know when I got him that I was this major transmuter. I didn't know what my role is. I mean, I had propensities, but I didn't know that I had this position. And I didn't know what I was going to need, but God did. So God said, you know what you need? You need this new, really neurotic project dog. And here's why. I only thought it was going to be a problem. It's not something I would have picked. But, you know that as empaths, people who are very empathic, when your sensitivity goes through the roof, you tend to absorb everybody else's shit or stuff from the environment. And I didn't know that I was a major transmuter. we're grounding rods a little bit. So my nose is running again. Sorry. Always happens. And yet I keep forgetting to be prepared for that. So when I left the farmhouse and moved to a one-bedroom apartment in a city, I started to absorb all of the, the crap from the environment. This is not a good neighborhood, especially when I moved in. Not a good neighborhood. There were drive-by shooting. I mean, I moved into a neighborhood that I wouldn't have come to. I would never. I couldn't stand this place. The area. Why would I even come here? And then I wound up through circumstance. God said, where you're going, but didn't tell me, just put me here. This is the spot for you. I thought it was going to be for 6 months, maybe. And I've been here for 6 years because there was work to be done here energetically. Not someplace that I would have chosen. But what I needed was something that would be required, that would help absorb it. So God gave me 2 dogs, but particularly the one that I thought was so problematic was the one who wants bodily contact at all times. I mean, the fact that right now he's about 5 feet away from me, and that's progress where he's concerned, because normally he just wants to be near you. He has to be on you all the time. So that annoyed me, really. It did. It was a constant thing. I had to just tolerate him all the time because I found him very needy. But it turns out he really was a huge help because he sleeps with me. I'm totally not making this up either. He's so sensitive to noises outside, fireworks, rain. It's not only thunderstorms, but rain, even like a light misty rain. He gets really upset, and he has to come. He has to press himself against you. And anytime, this is true. If I'm in the shower, at this point, I can take if I'm in the shower, he can be in the room. But if there's anything, if my daughter yells, or if she's doing anything, like one time she yelled at her sister, and he climbed in the shower with me because he can't, he just has to be around me all the time. All of a sudden he'll just be in the shower. So we've now gotten it to the point where I'll go in the shower and he'll just be in the room. And sometimes I'll be in a different room. And then it's like, wow, you stay here for a minute. You're all the way in a different room. That's good. That's Tosh. But I didn't know that I didn't know that I was going to need help with that kind of sensitivity. He absorbs a lot. So when I was doing major clearing, it actually really helped me that this other very sensitive being who could take a lot of that and also process it. That's exactly what he does. He really does. And the one who helps steady both of us is Luke, who has no problems whatsoever. Very steady. Nothing phases him. Nothing phases him. He goes wherever. He's great off leash. He listens. No problem whatsoever. Which is good, because I needed something that was old reliable. And that's what he is. So I guess this always happens, right? This always happens on my live streams. I came prepared to talk about one thing, but now we're talking about transition times, moving from where you thought it was stable, what you thought you wanted, the way you thought it had to be, what you would have picked for yourself. Not always what you need. And we're in this, so interesting. So right now, look at the screen. And because I'm always looking at what is being delivered in terms of frequency. Right now, you've got me in the middle, and you've got something low down that's red, so stability. And then you've got something that's growing. This is like the new financial system. Sarah Adams and I had been talking about the new financial system, the distribution system, the abundance distribution system being a tree. And right now there's just a transmission coming in. So let's see if I can adjust this, because we need more of this, less of this. We're going to be going all tree. All right. So what I actually started to come on and talk to today about, move that way a little bit. I'm just going to wait and see what comes in. But I do have stuff to talk about. So much of it, in fact, that I'm really having difficulty figuring out a way to present it. I know there's a way to present it. And I've been getting downloads, or sometimes it's not downloads. Sometimes it's less, hang on a minute. It's less downloads the way that we think of downloads, like a whole packet of information. That's actually not the way it's been coming in. It's been coming in more like, I'm still working on the light here, sorry. We're just in a process of adjusting. Adjustments being made. Is that right? Something like that. Too bright. There we go. It feels too close. There's I don't know. Hang on. They've been telling me about, so the way the spirit communication has been, it has been altered recently. And you're leading the chair, okay. You know, I've said this before, everything that happens in a live stream it always means something. So Luke just left. Tosh, if you need to come in, that'll be fine. I feel like there are just small adjustments that need to be made. I'm not normally quite this finicky, but something needs adjusting. It's skewed, it's imbalance. So there's a thing about imbalance that's going on. I've been very aware that this just has to be adjusted. Sorry, it just does. This is not right. I think that's the point. I think that's the point. Something is just not right, and it needs adjusting, and it just does. And it's not always the way you want, but it's going to be so much better when we actually fix it. So the information that's been coming, I can't stand it. I know it doesn't matter so much to you, except it just, something's funky. I'm feeling around for it, and right now it says 66. More space, something. The information that's been coming in has been coming to me in smaller pieces, but not really small. They're giving, it's more like a conversation that's being exchanged in sentences. So a part of the reason for that is because we're in a time of transition as we collectively, we're just stepping over this threshold where the new is being created. So the old ways, the ways that we thought things were supposed to work, or we've been conditioned to accept certain things as being a requirement, or sorry, they're making adjustments right now. I could feel it. There's things are too close. There's more space is required. More space is required. I didn't think this was going to come in either, but yes, more space is required. There's a purpose behind the chaos. That's coming in now. There's a purpose behind the chaos. The chaos is not a bad thing. Very much something where it's as though the asphalt of a parking lot, something that is designed for stasis. In order for that parking lot to become a garden, you have to kind of have to jackhammer the asphalt before something new can be planted, and everything has to be unearthed. So we're going into a period of time where level by level, the old is experiencing a certain degree of upheaval. And I feel like you already know this if you're listening to me. But the message, that the transmission, because it's less of a message, whatever is coming through the screen to you today, yes, thank you, is coming to you much more in an energetic way than it is through my words. Sometimes I deliver information, but for some reason this feels much more like an energetic transmission, even though I had planned to talk about specific things. And that information is absolutely going to be delivered to. I don't know how, I never know. Sometimes I can get a sense in advance of how long something is going to go. And right now there is so much movement behind me. And it's because there's a lot of excitement. So before, I feel as though they're going to deliver an energetic transmission to this particular audience that needs specific frequencies of excitement. The new is coming in. It has a feeling of spring, yes, but also a little bit like the best parts of Disneyland childhood. Playful new creation, joyful new creation. They're showing me daffodils. So I would invite you now. Oh, fairies. They're saying fairies again. We've been getting a lot of fairy energy lately. So right now, if you're listening to my words, I would invite you to stretch out with your antenna and feel around for everyone else. See if you can stretch out and pick up the energy of any others who are listening. So there are others who are listening. And we're all here together. And it's like we're commencing the new energetic platform that we're going to plant the seeds of new creation in. And it's a safe space. It's a playful space. And we can plant anything we want. It's a joyful time. It's so exciting. And sometimes the thing that you thought you needed, you thought things were going to happen a certain way, and it didn't happen a certain way. It didn't happen just the way you thought, and it feels sometimes very unstable and rocky, and it's very easy for fear to come up, particularly when you feel separate. You've lost, so many of us have lost our families. We've lost our homes. We've lost very often the respect of people we have been taught to seek respect from, we had to leave that behind too. But sometimes we do that just because we know more. We have a higher knowledge. We're now initiating a new system. It's a new network of light. And we're never abandoned. We just had to leave space for the, you know, open ourselves up so that something new could come in that's full of light. And the beautiful thing is we're going to be recognizing one another. And as soon as we get this network all up and running, we're going to send out a vibrational frequency of such benevolence and such joy. And we are going to be able to look compassionately at others around us who are ready. It's kind of like a happy Borg. It's a little bit like the happy Borg. Resistance is, you can resist all you want. But it is gonna infiltrate everything. It really is. But it's not gonna be as scary as you think. It just seems that way to begin with. It seems unstable because we've been conditioned to believe that compression was security. But compression was just compression. And the new realm is magic and very fun. So what was I going to say about this? Because this is already a totally different call than I thought it was going to be. I thought it was going to be, I was going to talk about this. I was going to talk about this. I bought, and I would ask you to hear this with ears that are compassionate, because I'm using this as an example, but I'm not trying to bash anybody. So I bought two containers of blueberries, one for me, one for my daughter. She's 14. And she loves blueberries, and I was gonna make blueberry shortcake or something, but she said, "Can I eat my blueberries now?" I said, "Sure." So she scarfed them all down, and then I reminded her that the other container was for me, because we have been having some issues with don't eat all of something. Make sure that you are a wise steward of other people in your surroundings. You know, but she ate her blueberries, and I didn't eat mine yet. And she asked me if she could have some of my blueberries, and I said yes, but leave me some. Just remember, yes, you can, because I was busy, and I said, okay, you can have some of my blueberries, but remember to leave me some. And I came out this morning, and these were the blueberries that she left me. And I went over to her, and I also pointed out that the blueberries, that not only did she eat all of hers and almost all of mine, she left me about 12 blueberries. The blueberry, I said to her this morning, it doesn't escape my notice that all of the blueberries you left me are green or squishy. You also left me the bad ones. That kind of behavior, I know she's 14. So I'm just using it as an example. As we go up in dimension, the motivation is seen. It's incredibly amusing to me. I think it's, you know when you have a toddler, where your toddler throws a tantrum, and it's easy, you know, you could get overwhelmed and get frustrated with your toddler when they have a tantrum. You know, the terrible twos are called terrible twos for a reason. I used to be a preschool teacher too, and in my preschool classroom, it was there were a number of teachers there, and periodically, when we would get you know, someone who was having a real meltdown, you get to know which teacher is really good at certain things. And I got all the tantrum kids. People would just, you know, pick up H and come over and Stephanie, take him. Because that behavior can really trigger certain people if you have a susceptibility to that. That kind of thing. I don't know why. It just, I don't get triggered very easily when somebody's in having a flailing meltdown and kicking me with those hard little construction boots. I have an ability to just see what it is and love him anyway. Energetically speaking, your motivation is seen. I find it incredibly, I want to use the word cute. Cute and very transparent. Very transparent. The way in early stages, very similar to a toddler, in early stages of spiritual development, there are kind of predictable things that you go through. Anybody who does this and thinks that you can pass off an excuse like, oh, I got carried away, I didn't know what that was going on, I ate them all before I realized. That's not true. So the first thing we have to do is be real clear. If you're on a spiritual path, I mean, whatever. Not everybody is on an intentional spiritual growth path. Calico couldn't care less. So it would be, so for example, when it's funny for me too, like I'm watching my own behavior when I carry this thing over to her bedroom and start to talk about spiritual development. Calico, as we go into the fifth dimension, this behavior cannot continue. And I'm watching Calico, who's on FaceTime with her friends. She's rolling her eyes. Nonetheless, because she couldn't care less about her spiritual progress. So it's kind of funny that I think she's you know, she's not out of alignment. She's doing exactly what she should be doing. But I think it's funny that as you go up in dimension, and as you develop the skill set of being able to see somebody's energy, what I think is incredibly funny is that they think you don't know. They really think that there's such a thing as hiding. The higher up you go in dimension, everybody's energy is transparent. Your motivation is seen. You can't pretend that your motivation isn't what it actually is. If you're actually in self-service, that is seen and known. Even if you give something and you can be a great, you know, really great actor, and you can pretend that you're in service to others and you can do all these things, it's it, you know how they say it's not what somebody says, it's what they does, it's what they do that matters. It's not always what they do that matters either. I mean, it kind of, but really the motivation, why you're there. Pretending that you're in service to others is not the same thing as actually being in service to others. You could just be kind of a shyster. It's really important to cultivate a degree of self-awareness, a degree of real honest self-inventory. Like, what did I really drop this off for? What did I really donate this for? Giving, like, for example, two people could have an identical item that they want to give to Goodwill, and it's going to make a difference at an energetic level. It matters. I'm just saying there's a difference. It's really not a judgment. I'm just saying it's something to be really aware of. That if you're donating something because you're getting rid of trash, and your real motivation is just to get rid of your garbage so that you can have something better. Nothing wrong with that, but you need to know that. It's not generosity if you're doing it for yourself. I mean, it's still generous. I'm not saying don't donate it. If somebody wants it, absolutely. But it doesn't really be aware of what your motivation genuinely is. If you're doing something out of love for another person, it counts toward love for another person. If you're doing it because you want something, then that's service to self. So I'm not saying you can't be service to self either. You have to fill up your own cup and make sure that you're taken care of so that you can give to others. There's actually a spiritual curriculum, and that's actually, it is what I came on to talk about. I came on to talk about service to self or service to others. And I even started out with a diagram. Where'd it go? At some point, I'm going to get a little whiteboard. There's a spiritual curriculum. And you're going to learn the curriculum one way or another. According to the law of one, but also this is actually the way, whether you're a proponent of the law of one or not, it really does go this way. Let's say you start off at a given point, and there's a certain amount that you need to learn, certain curriculum, before you can maybe move to the next level. And there are two paths you could take. You could either be service to self or service to others. They move in different directions. So let's say it's like a clock. It's a circle, and you start off at 12. And if I'm there and I'm in service to, so we're always taught, right, that it's better to give than to receive, like in the church. Not necessarily better, it's just a different path. It is true that service to others is the only way to get up. That is true. But you're going to learn the curriculum a different way. You're still going to have to learn it. Going to have to learn it one way or another. You're going to have to learn it. But what I love about this system, the way it works, is that it doesn't make anybody wrong. It doesn't make anybody wrong. You learn it one way, or you learn the same thing the other way. It's fascinating. And it winds up bringing us back into balance, which is, 0 point, which means you need to do both. You need to do both. That's the point of balance. In order to get out of this, up to the next level, you need to go through the 11 gateway. So seeing the other as yourself, treating them both equally, service to self and service to others. But it's eventually, because you're so full all the time, when you have everything you need, you pour out everything else, because the goal is to actually serve one another all the time and keep nothing that you don't need. You know, you are full to the very brim. Nobody is suggesting that, I'm not suggesting, that it's necessary to become depleted. Just don't become a hoarder, because you can't do that. Oh, well, you can, but if that's what you're going to do, you're going to stay in lower dimensions. That's just the way it works. But let's say there's a clock and you start off at 12. And let's say I'm in the path of service to others. This is what I did. So you start to give, and you start to give, and you start to give, and you can give and give and give and give and give and give and give. Better than give to receive, better to give than to receive, better to give than to receive, better to give than to receive. And if you are not receiving enough and you're just constantly giving, then you go all the way around the clock until you reach about 11 or maybe 11 and a half. And that's as far as you can possibly go giving to, and this is a secret, this is pretty cool. 11 on the clock is about as far as you can go giving to others unless you receive also. You're not going to be able to learn the lesson, complete the circle that way. The odd thing is that you can't reach 12. It will stop you at 11 on the clock of service to others. It will stop you at 11, and there will be a gap. There will be a gap between 11 to 12. You won't be able to reach it. It'll always fall short no matter what you do, because you know why? It's because that's when you're going to basically run out. You're going to be so depleted from always giving that you're going to have literally nothing left, and you're going to be so short that you can't reach 12. The same thing happens in the other direction. If you give, if you turn it inward, and you're become a hoarder, you know, in the third dimension, there's really only so much space. It's just one of the lessons of the third dimension is that you need to get out, you need to reach a balance of appropriate giving and receiving in order to go up kind of to the next level. And if you turn all, we're talking about energetically too. So I'm not talking about like if somebody says, well, you know, Trump has all this money and you can always get more money. Yes, but energetically speaking, you can't just continually take and take and take, hoard and turn it in, because even as a system, that's a closed system. There's only, so what happens in a closed system is that all the energy turns inward, and you eventually wind up becoming so compressed that it's its own trap. And what happens is that if you start at 12 and you go 11, and in that direction, service to self, you go 11, 10, 9, whatever, going all the way in and getting more and more, accumulating more and more, doing more service to self, service to self, service to self. What happens is that you're going to wind up at the same distance away from 12. You won't be allowed. There's an energetic safeguard there that's going to stall you. You're not going to be able to get to complete the lesson because it's going to stop at the same point. And that's a real, it's a good piece of information to have. It's something that forces you to go back and learn, like, where did I fuck up? If you're serving others all the time and you get so depleted because you're always going and doing and giving everything you have away, then you wind up at 11. And you have to go back and learn. Basically, you're after, and so this is so interesting too. If you follow that down, right directly underneath that, the balance point is 6. And 6 is about Earth. It's also 6 is the Lover's card in the tarot. So if we want to go through the 11 gateway, we've got to find the balance point, which is basically the Lovers at 6. We need to find Union Center. And that's also the name of a road in Riften. I'm going to take a picture of that. Giving and receiving. So where was I going to go with this? I'm not sure that this is going to be a long live stream. There was something. I know perfectly well that there's something else that they want, they want me to talk about. I'm not sure what it is. I feel like this, let's see, All Creation Network. Oh, yes, I did want to talk about this. So, you see how the energy just picked up? It did. So I was talking about the other live stream that went really long. It cut off at 4 hours. It's easier for me, just the way I naturally come from like the higher dimensions where everything moves faster and it's extremely generative. And it's easier for me, believe it or not, to do things in big chunks than it is for me to do things in small pieces. It's just an easier way for me to work. Did you ever watch little children? You know, you have to hold their hands, and you're taking very small steps, and you can do that for a little while, but after a while, you just want to raise yourself upright and walk with your normal strides. You can't compress yourself forever. We're moving into a time where those of us who have been feeling very compressed in the third dimension are going to be able to flow and work much more naturally. What is natural to us is to stand up at our full height and not have to, we didn't always have to, but we were punished by others who felt that we were too much or felt intimidated. It was never that we were intimidating so much as that they were intimidated. Or maybe we were intimidating, at any rate. In my private sessions, I have been, you know, I've been very lately, I've been, in the past year or so, year maybe, a little under, I've been really struggling very much financially. And the solution that has been suggested to me more than a number of times is that I charge more, or sometimes people say charge less, and that way you can do more shorter sessions. But energetically speaking, where you apply your energy, particularly mine, because I have unique, I really do have certain energetic properties that make my energy enormously generative. I have to be very careful where I touch down, what I apply it to, because everything I apply my energetic stream to is like an agreement. It's like giving something the nod that, yes, you're going to develop. That's why I can't go anywhere near certain things without it becoming very dangerous. I don't want to, I don't want certain things to be what's the word? To reproduce very quickly. There are certain things that I don't want that to happen there. It needs to go to specific locations. I had a session the other day with Camille Ochoa, and every time I'm in a session with somebody, I know what group they represent. And every person is a unique recipe of specific strands of light that do certain things. So a universal approach is not, it's not going to work successfully. Remember when I was talking about the planetary explosion the other day, and I said the reason when we were invaded, we felt very bad for the masculine and artificial those who wanted our help, but then also didn't take it. Or they took it, but they took it the wrong way. They took it to try and do shit to it. But they didn't actually take the suggestion. Hang on a minute. They're doing something right now. I don't know if you're aware of it. The old system will not work. It appears to work, just like service to self and service to others. Service to self, where you try to get as much as you can, it's very much a competitive system. You try to get as much as you can and always win over the other guy. And then you call that a victory. But it's a death sentence, actually. It creates a system that is where the imbalance increases to such a degree that it turns in on itself, becomes incredibly compressed. It requires more and more and more and more. It turns into kind of a vampiric system because it's all masculine and it's all artificial. It's also all service to self. You can't have it. In order to achieve equality, you do need that balance between giving and receiving. There's a crisscross thing that happens too. In the service to others, hang on a minute, let me think. I'm going to rephrase that. There's a whole body of information that is complex and cross-references other things. So I feel like, there's something about X-Men too that I'm going to wind up talking about. I don't know if it's going to be today. Right now, I don't know if you can see it. They're doing something along this portion. They're making energetic adjustments. And if you're listening to this, you're receiving codes. And I started to talk about Camille Ochoa too. When I work with people, I'm able to see what group they represent, and different codes come in for different people. So when I work with them, like my own energy is very much that of a cosmic water pick. Like it says on my business card, I deliver an energetic transmission that clears long-standing blockages and areas of stagnation. That's true. That's mine. But then, and so it's very much like a cosmic water pick that comes and it clears out energetic debris from whoever I work with. But then in addition, specific codes go to you. So I deliver the like the propulsion and the I want to say it's like the 8 of Wands, and very much a current of energy. But then incoming, depending on who's on the call or who's going to listen to it later, there are additional light codes that come in. And according to what you need to receive, those go to you. So and it happens automatically. It's not something where I decide what you need and I make you do it. That's not it. It's as much as you are allowing, what you're ready for. And your higher self knows what you're ready for. There is a cosmic magic. Everything in higher dimensions, you can look down. There's such tremendous benevolence. And I don't mean this to be condescending at all. But sometimes there, one of the reasons there's so much love is because sometimes we really do think it's so cute, like on these councils. Like I'm always talking about going to space meetings, and sometimes it really is cute. We look down, not in a condescending way, but just in a way like when you're watching your children playing or you're watching your garden growers, I mean, and they do something that's very predictable, you know, like like having a small child who just is determined that they actually know the way something is. And there's a point in everyone's development where not even a point, it's just the way it is. They're at the stage they're at. You can't force them to go faster. I mean, we have sometimes forced growth when we absolutely had to. That was the whole purpose of the energetic construct. But sometimes it really is funny to watch people try to justify their behavior. It's kind of like if your child comes to you and if you say, like, you have to be this high to ride this particular ride. You can't go until you've learned this. They're like, well, I really am much taller than I look. And you look at it like, no, you're not. You're not. You might think you're taller, but you're not. There's actually a measurement. There's a ruler right here, a yardstick, and this is how high you are. We can all see it. But it's funny because sometimes there's people and in kind of early on in their spiritual journey, there's a very predictable stage where they are just so certain they know everything. They're just convinced. Like, I found the truth. And they did for a while. We just let them have it. But motivation is seen. It's very apparent. It's like when you're looking at, it's really not a judgment. It really isn't a judgment. And it's not there's a knowledge-based hierarchy, but there's not a value-based hierarchy. It's like your first grader isn't worth less than your sixth grader. Your baby isn't worth less than your 4-year-old. That doesn't happen. But there's a conditioning that has trained us, regrettably so, to value certain things less than other things. But everything has a has a role, has a place, has a reason for existing. The new you're all getting frequencies right now. They're saying something about, I don't know why, rainbow sherbet. Oh, rainbow sherbet. I thought you were saying rainbow sherbet. No, it's rainbow sherbet, like rainbow sherbet. It's a treat. So just let these frequencies wash over you. They're delivering kind of rainbow frequencies right now. Oh, so back, I keep threatening to talk about Camille Ochoa, and then I forgot. When I give sessions to have individual sessions with people, I'm trying to figure out a way to say this without setting up some sort of competitive vibe, because what I'm trying to do is avoid, so I'm asking you for your help with this. I would like you to hear this when this, if you're listening to this, I would like you to hear it with ears. Pay attention to anything that arises within you that has a flavor of competition or jealousy. See if you can avoid that. That's what I'm asking of you. I want to make sure that I can speak freely without the information creating I want to make sure that jealousy doesn't come into this message. That's the way I wanted to say it. Sometimes some people pay for sessions and some people don't. I feel called to offer, I would like to have all sessions be paid, because my God, I have to be careful about the way I speak too. Right at this very second as I'm speaking, I have very, 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 very little money. That doesn't mean that I'm not awash in abundance. I am open to receiving a flow of finances in addition to the abundance, but you know, in other forms. But I wanted to mention Camille Ochoa, because in my sessions, it has nothing to do, like my decision making in terms of who pays for sessions and who doesn't, has nothing to do, not anything to do with how much I love the individual, or how much I love the individual. In some ways, what I'm trying to do for myself is balance. There's an overall goal. My goal is to get the entire group, as many people as possible, uplifted to 5. I really only work with groups. So when I'm looking at, and I look at everybody's energy. So when I work with people, and some of them pay and some of them don't, I look to see where the sticking points, energetically speaking, like how much mileage can I get out of. In some ways, it's self-serving and it's serving others. For example, I gave a session, like 3-hour session pro bono to somebody like last week, because I could see that there was a major sticking point where he was, and he represented a significant group that needs a lot of help getting, it needs a lot of help. But I was thinking, if we, and I know this is true, if we can tweak that, we're going to get a tremendous amount of mileage. It's going to, you know, 3 hours of my time can get a lot of leverage. Because if we unstick this guy where he's like really tacked, he's representing a huge group of people, and if I can adjust it with him, it's going to adjust it in all of these other people, and I'm aware of what that's going to do to the entire group. And he's broke. I know he is. So I gave him 3 free hours because that's okay. That's fine. I have no problem with that whatsoever. Camille is another one where there are certain people where, you know, where I want to give her absolutely everything she needs, because I sometimes you want someone to be, she's a very, very good receiver. She's somebody who's very good at giving and knows how to receive equally. So the reason it's so important is because in the new circulation system, you're going to be asked to pass on as much as possible. If we're trying to get the new network balanced with as many people as possible, we need a new system that's not based in lack. And I should even phrase that differently, because if I say not based in lack, our brains don't hear the not, so I'm basically saying based in lack. We're trying to get out of a system that is based in lack, where it's a single point delivery and you have to use money, you know, and there's this idea, well, there has to be equal exchange, and so I deserve to get paid. So yeah, you do deserve to get paid, but it doesn't have to come back from that one individual. If you are thinking of it, the financial system, as you need to start thinking of others as your children, your family, your brethren. You do want, and it's appropriate to expect, others to be working to contribute to the system. That's appropriate. But not everybody is working, number one, in ways that you're aware of. You don't always, sometimes it's okay to leave some of the figuring out to God, who, you know, the divine plan has an aerial view. I know that people who are 3D based have no idea. They can't see what I'm doing. They're not aware of what I'm doing energetically. But it's not that I'm not contributing. I know that, like when I had a session with Camille the other day, I said something to her that I've never said in another session. Number one, I should say that in all, it's not because I love her more, but she has the ability to do something that other people were not a good fit for necessarily yet. That doesn't mean they won't be. So try not to get to, try to hear this information with a sense of equality and generous nature. Generous nature is really the new energetic platform that is required of all participants in the new the new economic model. A generous nature. where there's enough to go around, you know, you trust that you're going to be held and loved and fed and nourished on all levels. And because you have that trust, you give freely to everyone else that you love without keeping a tally the same way. You don't keep a tally. You don't have to pinpoint and figure out, so I gave you $10 and you only gave me back $8.25, and I'm due this much with a decimal. Don't do that. Do you see how tense that gets? It's okay to just relax and receive and give freely. The energetic, there's really a different way of working with energetic currency. Energetic currency and love is, it's self-leveling, and there is no tallying, and it's not mental. You don't have to go mental tallying everything. There's going to be enough, but you have to be the energy that does that freely. The energy precedes the form. Always, 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 always. Energy precedes form and circumstance. So you can't go from a circumstance perspective and say, well, this is just the way the world is. You have to learn how to add. Maybe so. But that doesn't mean you have to go into tallying everything. You actually don't. You have to, what you need to do is watch, pay more attention to your own emotional climate. You are your own first creation. Everything in the external world is going to mirror you. So the first thing you need to learn to do is pay attention to yourself and your own internal ecosystem. How much am I loving? How much am I giving? Am I able to receive? Where's the joy? Where am I experiencing lack? Can I adjust that? If you learn to tweak all of these little portions inside, you're going to reach a place of balanced flow. And then all you have to do is just be love and just start the circulation. In Camille's session, she's the one I said was like a plowed field. Very much very much an Earth Mother type, but not like not the sweaty old hippie kind. Energetically speaking, the information that came through during her session was one I haven't seen in a while. It was really, really nice to see. And I value what she is able to offer others. Here's the thing. I really saw in her that she's able to offer others so much that I said, you're somebody that it's like you have money, but I'm not going to charge you. Anything you need, you're just going to get it. It was because of where it was. You know how I've said all of my sessions are sequential, and my live streams are sequential. Different energetic adjustments are being made to the whole with every single time. So I was aware when her session came on it was time for her session, and it landed where it did. There's always divine right time. I've really learned to trust in divine right timing too. In the beginning, there was a temptation. I was very tense about it, and I wanted to know exactly when things were going to happen, and I wanted to make sure I could pay my bills, and of course, but I've learned to trust in divine right timing, that every person who is going to land the exact right spot, and the less I try to control it or get tense and try to worry about it, it actually flows so much better if I just get out of the way and I just open to receive what is the next thing. And when her session came up, I was aware that it was a critical point. We were at a crossroads. So I knew that the next session that came in was going to be the commencing energy, was going to commence the new energetic platform. So I knew it was going to be an important one. But I didn't know, I had nobody lined up. I just saw an empty slot. And I thought, the next person, you know, I know that whatever we're going to do in that session, I'm going to be able to read it. And I'm going to know what it means because it's landing right there. And it was Camille. And who I didn't know her well. But because she showed up with the energy that she did, and because it was that particular spot in the sequence, like this thing, it begins the energetic platform. The two of us, every time I work with every person, we are our own energetic gateway that allows another group to rise through that portal, or creates a portal for another group. So hers, I could tell, was going to go forward and establish the one that we created together. It's not hers, it's ours. Like between the two of us, we were doing this particular part of the new pattern, establishing it. And hers was the first. And because she landed where she did with the energy that she had, and she came on, I was like, you're like a plowed field. She's the one I said, you're a plowed field. And she heard it without offense. And then I also said, you're like a fruit basket. She's just like ready. She's just ready. Like, what do you want to plant here? Hello. Calvin's home. And I'm on a live stream.
Do you know someone named Carl?
Just wait. No.
This was in the door.
Okay. Oh, okay. Whatever. Please be quiet because I'm on a live stream. Hang on. Because her energy came the way it did, it was something like now you're gonna, it was an open field, and whatever you commence today is going to, it's going to grow from here. It's very much like 0 point, but in the best way, not in an empty way, but something in a very fertile way. So I knew that the way I handled her session was going to really expand. So I said, and it's true, I appreciate what you can offer. I see what you offer. I appreciate what you offer. And therefore, I'm giving you free sessions whenever. Anything you ever need, you get from me. Because the energetic transmission, the foot that we step forward on matters. It matters. The previous formulation, the previous structure was one that we all have been conditioned in previously, that said, only this one form of exchange is acceptable. Or some things just have to be done with money. There's shortage. You have to earn it. You have to go out and earn this thing. Prove yourself. Prove your worth. Here's Tosh. The energetic support dog who supports through his neediness. Hello, dear. And Tosh is on the, Luke's on the other side of me. So the new financial model, the distribution system, is a radical change. It's so interesting to me that Luke is now sitting on Luke, the old reliable dog, very steady, is on my left, and Tosh just came sat in the red chair. That's because we're in a time of transition. Both can be supportive, but they do different things. The old one is old and steady. The young one, who looks older, he's actually a lot younger, and he seems very unstable. He seems like he's problematic. This one, he seems like a unstable worrier. But he had something I didn't even know about. His own neediness. That's what I appreciate you. I see that about you now. I do. It was actually his own neediness that was a gift. I didn't know about that when I got him. We have to have a place to flow to. Abundance, in order for the system to work. The one who is the receiver is your asset. It's your partner in the exchange, your partner in the flow. Someone needs to be the receiver. My goodness. Pigs just piped up. I don't think this call is going to go on much longer. But the person who's the receiver is your partner in flow. The fact that Tosh was unstable and very needy, emotionally needy, I originally viewed that as a deficit. I wanted to be more independent at that time. And I still do. I like to be independent. A lot. But I didn't realize what he was offering also. Yes, you. It's a different kind of gift, and we need to appreciate that too. In Camille's session, I saw what she had to offer, and I thought, man, we can get together. She has a way of distributing. Codes came in for her, which had never come in for some. I haven't seen those come in for anybody but me, and I was really pleased that she had a place to receive them. That's the gift. Sometimes we have something and we want to be able to get it, but there was no place to put it. I had to hold a lot of this stuff because there was no other place to put it. And she was the first person who was able, she had a way of getting it out to more people. And as soon as I saw that come in, I thought, wow, you have a place to put this. And a distribute, you are oh, hi, you're here. She has a way of distributing these codes to more so we can get a ton of mileage. So just the fact that I can get my stuff out, it is a form of self-service. The giving is something that's a gift to me. So I'm thrilled at that. So one of the things that's happening on my live streams is that people who are who listen to them are receiving energetic transmissions. Some of it is my energetic transmission that's like the cosmic water pick part. That's the part that's clearing. But then you're also getting, how do I want to say this? We are establishing, with every person that comes on, you know, like the ocean refuses no river. This is like we're one big river that's receiving all these other rivers. So the qualities that you, as an individual, each one of you, the qualities that each one of you have are being added to the river. And remember, I said that whatever, like I was talking about the third dimensional, the old system versus the new system, and whichever ocean you contribute to is the ocean that you're going to swim in. That's true. And for a while it's mixed. That's okay. We're going to the top one. But you're probably, for almost nobody is exactly 50-50. Most people are leaning one side or the other. And if you go whole hog into one side, you should kind of know where you're applying most of your energy. If you want to be a part of the new system, go whole hog into the new, like Lawrence Wendell or someone like that. Like, boy, he knows how to do it. And it might be lean very in the beginning, and we're just in the beginning, but very soon it's like 100th monkey tipping point, and we're going to be there. We're going to leap up there en masse. And that's what this is establishing. So I was working with Sarah Adams. We had talked about the All Creation Network. And we were going to charge. We were trying to play with the, oh, Angel Divine's here too. I was talking about you the other day. I don't know if you heard. The new financial system. How do you get more people up there? So there's a way to do it. The first call that we had on the All Creation Network, and Sarah Adams and I did it, and I'm definitely not going to call it a failure because it tells us exactly it's a success, but it tells us what needs to be adjusted. So we found out from the first call that we can't do it that way. We're going to do it a different way, which is fine. Like that gave us really valuable information. So this call is more like what I need. I need to focus more here, which is give everything. I'm really determined to just get that higher system up and running. Certain things need to happen. I feel that the fastest way to do it is to get we just have to reach that 100th monkey tipping point. So that's why I see, hi Andrew, somebody whose energy is like Camille's, and she told me like what she does for a living, and I can see where if I apply my energy there, because it's so generative, like, boy, I can get a lot of mileage out of that. I don't want you to feel like you're being used. But it's like that. It's like I want to give you as much as possible because that's where we're headed. I can get so many bits, like a big open doorway. for those of you who have followed my work in the past or up to this point, you know that I've said that the new energetic model is entirely different, where it's like in the old energetic model, the richest, wealthiest people were the ones who had the most, were the ones who hoarded the most. It's like, you get it, you keep it. Or you're Cindy, you're saved, whatever. The new energetic model it's very much based in where each person, the giving and the receiving, must be equal. So the ones who are going to have the most are the ones who flow the most, not the ones who give to the point of depletion, but the ones whose ability to serve is greatest. Where it's balanced with their ability to also receive at the same degree, because spirit is so abundant. We're just looking for venues, man. We're just looking for venues. Where can I put it? I love you. I have so much love to give. Just call it in, but don't call it in just for yourself. You can call it in for yourself too. But then if you call in $1 million, what are you going to do with $1 million? You should know how you're going to serve. Where are you going to put it? You don't even have to know, but you have to have the capacity in both directions. It's important. And this is where we're headed. It's manifesting not just for an item. You know, it's like there was a point in, so interesting, like the law of attraction, The Secret. Honey, would you turn that down so I can't hear it at all?
Stop talking so loud.
No, you have to learn. What do you go in the other room?
I'm doing homework.
Okay, you can do that in the other room.
No.
I think this call is going to be short. You need to have the capacity in both directions. Remember, The Secret came out at a time in our development where it was about manifesting things. So it was very much about objects and very third dimensional. That was a version of it. You know, The Secret, and but that's where you start. You start by, how do I manifest a thing for me? You know, that's the baby version. The adult version is, how can I use this skill set to change the world for all concerned? We're moving into a time of generative and generous problem solving, or new creation. It's really more about new creation, creating the new, much more than it is about solving the problems. That definitely has to happen, but it's our capacity to adapt, innovate. We're not going to go recreating. It's going to be an uplifted new version that's much more open and flexible, because it has to be. But there's more of everything. It's wildly generous, wildly creative, very benevolent. So I am going to end this call for the time being. I might do another one later. There was more to give today. I'm going to try to do these more often. And changes are really coming in, but I'm getting a lot of information lately. It's interesting to me the way it's coming in. It's different. Yeah, it's coming different. So right now, be open to connect and receive with all of the other people who are listening to this. You're all brethren. I would invite you from this point forward, remember this connection that we have now. Remember kind of keep in mind the fact that you're connected to all of the other people who are listening to this call. And you're all here for a reason. You're all here because you're establishing the new grid that is one based in movement and based in circulation. So be open to receiving ideas that may come to your mind from others in the group, because we're building not only the financial network, but also the telepathic and informational distribution system, the love distribution system. It's all coming in, and we're building it in this moment, right now. The energy that we feel right now, the connectivity that we feel with one another right now. Do you feel the energy? It's totally different than it used to be. It's already a new world. So I invite you to be open and receive the new light codes, which you have already been given. And you are so, 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 so immeasurably loved. My sessions don't end. I always say this to all the people who have sessions with me. Our time together on the screen ends, but the energy continues. We're actually gathering all of our family back together and reestablishing the connections so that the sense of separation is no longer. So I would invite you to love one another, connect with one another now. You're all here for a reason. Here, right now, on this call, you're all here for a reason. And you're all, from this point forward, this transmission that you're receiving, you are now givers as well. So when you walk through the world, you're going to be radiating this new frequency, delivering these codes to everyone you come in contact with. So there is no, there is no wrong turn. If you suddenly need to, GPS takes you off track and you find yourself, you think it's off track and you take a wrong turn, you were there for a reason. Nothing is wasted. I do want to make I was just about to close, but I'll close on this point. Nothing that you have gone through is wasted. At times, this is suddenly coming in. They want me to add this right now. There's like, add this. In a time of transition, it's sometimes easy to feel that we have wasted or somehow lost years we spent trying to build other things that were then demolished, like the builder of the Titanic. Like, oh God, I just made that thing and I just bet, oh my God, I lost it, it sunk. And it seemed so sturdy. We believed in it. We tried so hard to get that to work and it sunk. And the only thing we have now is this little raft that seems less substantial, less reliable. That's not true. All of the skill sets, everything you learned has not been wasted. This is actually here to be utilized. I've really learned that in my own journey, that it wasn't wasted, because every single time that I have a session and I think I'm unprepared, I've totally learned this in my own journey. I'll meet somebody and think, well, I have no idea what to say. It seems like I have nothing. I have learned that that's not true. We're moving into a new system that is co-creative. I thought that I was half empty because there was something wrong, something missing, and it was less substantial. That's not true. What it really is this is the place where the other half is going to come in. This is the joining spot. This is the thing that creates the new structure based on like and like frequencies. So all of you who are here are building the new structure. If you are seen to be, if there has been perceived loss, that's actually you prepared to receive the new, stronger thing. That's exactly what we wanted. What you thought was a loss was actually a gift. What seemed unstable was actually something you needed. This is now the dog that sleeps with me every night. He has gone gray, even though he's young, because he takes a lot of the emotional burden off of me. I was getting very overwhelmed by frequencies because I was transmuting. He takes a lot of that off of my shoulders. He was actually exactly what I needed. I just didn't know that. You're being held, you're being led, you're cared for, and I guarantee you, you are seen. They know, your higher self and all of your guides know exactly how much your rent is. They know exactly how much you have in your bank account. You don't have to tally. It is okay for you to open to flow and allow the new light to come in. Release the old density because you're going to go up that much faster and that much higher. That's the next, that's what this step is. So I'm going to close the call on that. I love you, love you, love you, love you. If you have, I'm going to put the link below if you want to make a, I always forget to add this on my videos. Somebody said to me that I've only asked for money on one of these videos. And it's true, I do, because I keep forgetting. If you have the ability to make a donation to the Ascension Arc, or yeah, the Ascension Arc, I'm going to put a link on my for my PayPal on my wall if you feel like doing that. And if you can't, don't worry about it. Just go and give. Keep giving, keep receiving. Just join the network. And as soon as we reach the tipping point, it's all going to roll over. We're going to get there. And suddenly it's going to flip the entire world. If you don't know the 100th monkey story, go look up that. Okay. I love you, love you, love you. Bye. Whoops.